Hello guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to yet another video. Today it's my official National League predictions for the 22-23 season. This is a really hard league to predict with teams coming down from the Football League, teams coming up from the National League North and South. It's so hard to predict this league, so get involved in the comments and have your say. Don't get too offended, I've changed my mind multiple times whilst doing this. Hit that like button though and subscribe, and let's get into this, working our way from bottom to the top. So then, starting with the four relegated clubs down the bottom end of the table. First up, we got Maidstone United. Now this was a tricky one. I really didn't know where to place them as they're a new team coming into this league. I wish them all the best as a newly promoted team. They obviously did very well in the National League South. I just don't know too much about them, and it's all down to how they climatise in this division. I've put them in 24th place. It might be a bit harsh. Let me know if you agree. In 23rd, I've gone for Altrincham. Now this would be quite the fall off after last season. They were a bit inconsistent, but on the whole pretty decent in 14th place last year. I just have this feeling about Altrincham, looking at what people have to say and just the general quality of their team. Is it going to be enough to hold where they were or even climb the table? I think they could come down the table. I've been a bit harsh with Altrincham, putting them down in 23rd. 22nd, I went for Aldershot. Now, they just about survived last season in 20th place. It wasn't a great season, and I can see them going down, to be honest. There's some decent teams coming up, especially from the National League North, and I think Aldershot could slip into the bottom four this time round. Obviously, if they can survive again, that'd be great. Their fans will probably want to climb the division, but is there enough quality there to survive this time? I don't think so. Aldershot are going down. And in 21st place, I've gone for Wealdstone. Now this was a tricky one because I actually quite like Wealdstone, and I don't think they're a terrible team. They finished 16th last year, so they weren't that bad. So they were a bit inconsistent, as bottom half teams usually are. But I think Wealdstone will just slip down. I think it could be close. I'm putting them around 20th or 21st, but in this table I've put them 21st. If you're a Wealdstone fan, let me know what you think. So then, surviving in the National League this year, I'm going to go for Maidenhead first, who finished 17th last year. So just maybe a couple places lower, but still just about avoiding the drop. I think Maidenhead's a tricky one. If they survive, that's obviously better than going down. I think it could be really competitive, but I'm just having them to survive. Let me know if you're a Maidenhead fan, what you think of the upcoming season. Next up then, I've gone for Dorking Wanderers, a team coming up. Once again, these teams coming up, I don't know massive amounts about. I've seen glimpses of what they did last season. Obviously, there's going to be a couple players going in and out at Dorking Wanderers, but I think they could do all right. There's some decent performances from last season. Obviously, this is going to be a massive thing for Dorking Wanderers. Getting into the National League, I think they will do enough to survive. And then also surviving, I've gone for Eastleigh. Kind of similar season to last year. Some people actually think they could go down. I think they'll probably do similar to last season and survive. I think they finished 19th last year. Pretty weird season, some strange results, bit inconsistent again. I think they'll finish 18th. I don't think they're bad enough to go down. I think they're going to be clear of that bottom four. So then, as we push to mid-table, next up I've gone for Woking, kind of similar to where they finished last season in that mid-table bubble. I think they were decent last season and some decent results in there. I think their fans would really want to push on up the division, but I think they could hold their own. I think the National League is certainly getting more and more competitive. Some of their business so far has been okay, but I think they could pretty much stay where they finished last season. I think last year was 15th. This year I'm saying 17th in that mid-table bracket. In 16th place, I've gone for Barnet. A little climb up the table. They did concede quite a few goals last season, to be fair. They finished in 18th. I think as a club, though, they're bigger than some clubs in this division, and I'd like to see them push into the top half. I think they'll finish 16th. I don't think there'll be massive change. There's been some transfers going on. It's all about how they gel going into this new season. In 15th place, I've gone for Yeovil, who did finish 12th last season. It seems like they're stuck in the National League. Like they don't seem to be bad enough to go down or good enough to go up. It'd be great to see them build towards getting into that playoffs. And the business they've done this summer could work out to be quite good for them. But I think they'll be mid-table again. They were in the Championship 10 years ago. It's so strange to see them stuck in the middle of the National League. Next up, I'm going to go for Skunkthorpe United, a really tricky one to predict as they've come down. And the predictions for these guys range from playoff chasers to relegation battle. I mean, it's really hard to predict when a club comes down, and Skunkthorpe, I want to see them stabilise that club and preferably get into that top half. I think they'll be mid-table though. If you're a Scunthorpe fan, what's your thoughts going into this new season? Because last year it wasn't very good. Next up then, in 13th place, I've gone for Bromley. Pretty similar to last season. They actually finished 10th last year. I don't think they'll get particularly worse. I've only gone down a couple places. But yeah, they were pretty decent. They were sniffing around the playoffs. If they can put some more consistency together, they could get in there this year. But they're going in 13th place. So then, as we push into the top half, these are the playoff chasing teams. In 12th place, I have gone for Gateshead. Obviously, coming up from the National League North. Very impressive. I like Gateshead. I really want them to do well, obviously. It'd be great if they survive. But I think personally, they could really push up the division. The National League is certainly competitive, but some of the teams that come up can do really well. I think Gateshead will be one of them. They were certainly brilliant last year, and they do seem to have a good team coming into this season. In 11th place, I've gone for Dagenham and Redbridge. Once again, I'm not moving teams drastically on where they finished last season. It was 8th last season. I've said how competitive it is with decent teams entering the division this season, and I think Dagenham and Redbridge will be sniffing around the playoffs again. I would like to see them get in there and actually get back to the Football League, but there's certainly a lot of teams with that idea trying to break in there, and it just makes it so competitive. So I think they could be a playoff chaser, but maybe not do it. Then in 10th place, I'm going for Southend United. I think they'll scuttle up the table a little bit. They seemed to blow hot and cold last season and eventually finished 13th. I think as a club, they've certainly got potential, and they've got decent players and a decent fan base there that could all push them together collectively towards the playoffs. I think they will climb the table, and I put them in 10th place. If you're a Southend fan, do you think you could break into the top 7 this time round? 9th place, I've gone for Boreham Wood, which is exactly where they finished last season. Just frustrating, wasn't it, that they couldn't quite hang on in there and make the top 7 last year. I think it'll be a similar season. Maybe they don't get off to a great start this time around and fall away, but good spells and bad spells and a playoff chase all in the middle of that. And I think Boreham Wood are a decent team. They could be one that break in there. The last team just missing out, I've gone for 8th place. It's York City. I think York City are going to have a very good season. They look to me like a team that are going to fit straight into the National League and, you know what, punch their way towards the playoffs. If they get in there, that would be brilliant. They're a decent club and they've got very decent fans as well. So great achievement last year. I think they're going in the right direction. I think York City will make 8th place. So then, as we come on to the playoff picture, in 7th place, I've gone for FC Halifax. Now, that is the playoffs again. Last season, it was a 4th place finish. I remember them. I remember their game against Chesterfield in the playoffs, and it was just frustrating after what the season they'd had that they fell short there. But big changes with the manager going out. I would like to see FC Halifax in there again because they're a club I'd love to see get into the Football League. So there is a lot going on at FC Halifax. I just want them to make the playoffs again, and I think they will. 7th place. Do you agree if you're an FC Halifax fan? 6th place. Going for Torquay United. I like me some Torquay. I don't know why. I've always had a soft spot for Torquay, and obviously they had that fantastic season two years ago when they nearly got up. They got to the playoff final, and then last year was a building season for me. I actually predicted them to make the top 7 last year, and they didn't do it. They were sniffing around the playoffs in the top half, and they eventually finished in 11th place. This year, though, I think they'll step it up again and get back into that top 7. I think Torquay are a team that are getting closer and closer to getting in there. Obviously, last season was a regression on the season before, but I think this season will be a progression. I think Torquay have got decent players. I like their fans. I like them as a club, and I think they're going to make the playoffs. Now, next up, we've got Oldham Athletic, and this is a real potential wild card. Obviously, Oldham as a club are going to be a big club in this division. I like Oldham. I like their fans, and I'd like to see them do well. Obviously, I completely understand what the fans have been through as a Coventry fan myself. It's not right, and I'd like to see Oldham get back to where they belong. But on the pitch, I feel like they could do quite well. Obviously, there's quite a lot to talk about. Not everything's completed yet, and they could be the good and the bad going into next season. But if they can get that togetherness at Oldham and the fans can get behind them, especially at away games, I feel like their fans will really make a difference at away games. I think Oldham will be in the playoffs, but that is a wild card. I wouldn't be surprised to see them finish anywhere in this division. Next up then, I have gone for Solihull Moors. They're the local National League team for me, and I always say they're always going to be in the playoff mix, and they always are, but they just can't quite get over the line. It feels to me like the only way Solihull are actually going to get promoted is if they win the league, because when it comes to the playoffs, they just can't quite do it. They got much closer last year by getting to the playoff final, and for me, they're a club going in the right direction. You look at the trajectory over the last 10 years, I think they're definitely en route to the Football League, but I reckon 4th place, and it wouldn't surprise me if they lost out in the playoffs again. 3rd place, I'm going for Notts County. There's 3 clubs coming here where they're just going to be in there, and Notts County for me shouldn't be in the National League to start off with. Obviously the size of the club they are, it's not really how football works. Big clubs can go down, and they are getting close and close and close every time. They're always in the playoffs, and obviously it was very unlucky against Grimsby last season. I think they'll finish 3rd, so I think they'll go straight into the playoff semi-finals. there could be a case to put them in your top 1 because they are a good team going into next season. Next up in second place, I've gone for Chesterfield. Once again, decent club at this level, decent team. I expect them to do well. I'd like to see them battle for that first place, but I'll come on to my first place in a minute. I think Chesterfield are going to have another strong season, and they're certainly going to be in the argument for that top 3 and top 1. I think Chesterfield have got a good set of players. Their business has been pretty interesting so far, and their fans are always going to be right behind them. They're a good club. Let me know what you think if you are a Chesterfield fan. And that means in top spots, I'm going for Wrexham. It's just really hard to predict this table without putting Wrexham top of the league. I just think Wrexham are so red-hot favourites with everything going on. Obviously, they had a really strong season last year and it just wasn't meant to be. I'd like to see them do it this year. I mean, they were just such an entertaining team last year with all the 5-4s and 6-5s and all these crazy scorelines. If they could sort that defence out a little bit with the goal power they've got, they could certainly blast their way out of this division. Big owners, big club, big fan base. I'd love to see them get back to the Football League, and I really do think this is the year. If you're a Wrexham fan, do you think it's going to happen? Because I've put you number 1. So then guys, that wraps up my National League predictions. It's a really hard league to predict. It's certainly not predictable. Let me know your thoughts down below. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.